The problem is this thought, this concept, this notion. You see? And you're absolutely right that the way to, some of the most powerful ways to get over this suffering because of these notions, as has been suggested by the sages, is to either surrender or to inquire. Now you say that I inquire and I ask myself, why? Is it? Now you have to change one letter in that inquiry. Instead of W-H-Y, you have to change it to W-H-O. Because the mind loves why. Why does it love why? Because there is no why. And this is where you will get the most resistance from the mind. Why are we here? There is no why. What is the purpose of this? There is none. What does it all mean? Nothing. It seems like that is the worst news. To the mind, that is the worst news. Because it makes you feel meaningless. You see? So it loves with playing with this question, why? But inquiry means who? You see? The fun thing is that as you ask who, and you come to this seeing clearly more and more, then the question why will not have a verbal response, will not have a conceptual answer, but you will know why. I will try to explain it as if it's play or as if it is trying to experience yourself as something. Maybe all these answers, but you know that none of these are the answers. So you will not know it conceptually. See? So then the mind will come and say, see, now I'm inquiring, but even inquiry is not working. The inquiry is wrong or is not fruitful. Let's put it like that. Why has no real answer in science, in philosophy, in religion. Everybody is grappling with the question why. Find out who first. Why for who? Why is it happening to me? Find out who me. That is the way to do the inquiry. Now, some of you get tired with the inquiry who don't want to do inquiry anymore. It doesn't work, Father. I'm tired of it now. Just that is fine too. That is fine too. Then you let it be my problem. You want to keep it your problem also, and then you want to presume that inquiry is something else and do it your way. Then it's a struggle. So if you inquire now, and not even for the personal benefit, not even with an expectation. Isn't it relevant that we know who we are, even if we didn't get anything because of it? Isn't it so basic? It has been made into such a major question. But wouldn't it be relevant to know who you are, even if you didn't get any benefit out of it? Because you are presuming yourself to be something. And I am telling you that it is not true. Isn't it worth exploring at least a little? You see, Now, this might be the problem because you might feel like there's a me who is suffering, and then this I comes and replaces that suffering for the me. You see? Now, this is what I'm trying to show you, that the I which you are, there are not two of you. There is one I that you are. See? Now, without the presumption of the me, there is no suffering. And every time there is a presumption of the me, it is bound to be followed by suffering. See? So, although the initial motivation might seem like it is for the me to get rid of the suffering, that I'm doing the self inquiry. But you find when you do the self inquiry, you see that the me doesn't escape the self inquiry. There is no me left to suffer or not suffer. That's why Guruji says the one who starts the inquiry is finished by the inquiry. You see? But many times what happens is that you take a dip, like you take a dip in the Ganga. You dip in, and then you dip out. Oh, me is back. This dip from which you come back. Where is this me? Just a vague belief system, isn't it? Just a very slippery, sort of vague belief system which is always changing the target. Sometimes it wants only freedom, sometimes it wants only freedom from something else, sometimes it only wants good relationship, sometimes it only wants money. You see, where is this one? Yes. So you say it is in the thinking. The thinking is gone. Then you will say it is in the future when I think again. You see, this is how it plays. I'm saying thinking is gone. Right now you are free. Then the thinking itself will come and say, but what about when I come back? But again, it is gone. Our natural state is that in which identity is gone. We have this misconceived notion that we are living as the identity. Actually, identity just comes and goes. It might come and go many times, so it feels like it is our constant experience. But our constant experience is that of being free, actually. Like right now, your experience is that of being free. Right now also. Now also. Now also. Now one thought will come and you might pick up some identity for a few moments. You see? But then gone. So predominantly, even in the phenomenal play, most of humanity actually is free. That's exactly why I asked the question, when I can see clearly, why do I believe thoughts? This is why we've answered many times, and you know the answer. So I'm not indulging in that question because you know that as long as consciousness wants to play as an individual entity with its individual play, it will continue to. But the more important thing is that even though this belief might come, even though the pretend suffering might play out, what is really happening to you? Has anything ever really happened to you? Has there ever been one who has actually suffered? Is there really been a sufferer? That we saw is the pretend one. No sufferer, only suffering. The minute it is seen there is no sufferer, it cannot land. You see, suffering. So we cannot Advaita this one. You see? When you see that there is no sufferer, then actually what suffering? So it is only the presumed sufferer which it forms the landing strip for the suffering. Why do I believe thoughts? Because consciousness is choosing to suffer with this question right now. If this was not there right now, what is your state? You see, sometimes even in this suffering, even in these very inquiry sounding thoughts, there is lurking a I, which is the small. When you are saying, why do I believe thoughts? Are you asking why God believes thoughts? The self in his dynamic form is believing thoughts. The self is doing, the consciousness is doing what consciousness is doing. But I know that mostly when this question is asked, it is mostly like, why am I, Niranjan? Why am I, this body mind, still believing my thoughts? You are not. You do not exist. You don't have the power of belief. Who is the I even in this question is the inquiry. Same presumed one, exactly. This is how the mind will use even the things that you hear in satsang and try to use that as an ally for its individuality. That's why I've often said, don't believe your next thought is not a personal strategy. Because if you try to make it a personal strategy as an antidote for suffering or something, then the mind will come up with these kind of questions. Oh, you know that to be free from suffering, you just have to drop your belief. But look at you, you just keep believing. All the time telling you the story of the presumed you. See? So, even don't believe your next thought. It relies on your seeing that which you say, I can see clearly. It is reliant on that I playing as consciousness, not that small I which is playing as Niranjan. There is no pointing here for that presumed one. You see? Because that itself is the root of all suffering. It will take whatever you hear in satsang and use it for its own means. This is just consciousness reminding consciousness. Yeah. Now, if you say why, why does consciousness have to remind consciousness? There is no why. It is just part of the play. But consciousness reminding consciousness that it is not that limited one. It is not the presumed one. And this is naturally what is in this moment. The mind will convince you first to pick up the mask of the me and then say, now solve it for me. You see? That is why inquiry is to see where this I is pointing. Am I the masked one pretending to wanting to want to get rid of freedom? The mask itself is suffering. The mask of the me is the mask of suffering. And then wearing that mask, it tries to play the game of getting rid of suffering. There is nothing for this I to do. There is nothing for this masked one to do. But I'm reminding myself as consciousness that it's time that we are done with this mask. So inquire now for the sake of the truth. Don't even inquire for any psychological benefit, any physical benefit, any body benefit. Because that expectation itself will keep that presumed me on your back, you see. That my depression should go away, my something should happen. It'll keep you strapped into the me. That's why I asked you the question. Isn't it worth it to find out who I really am, even if there was no benefit to it?